Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And
And those are lessons that are teaching you to be more receptive to listening to that spirit.
well, and when we do that, then we're not stuck.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we may feel as though we've got all these barriers around us and that we're stuck in one position, one place, one thought, one dogma, whatever it happens to be. But we become unstuck when we listen.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we see that unstuck feeling is like you can look at the world, and pretty soon people look at you like, well, why don't you care? And I said, because I know where I stand with God, and when you know where you stand with God, nothing else matters. It just doesn't matter anymore because I know He's going to guide me, direct me, take me where I'm supposed to be, put me in the places that I'm supposed to be at. And if He doesn't, He'll say, you make the decision today, Mike. I'll support you in whatever you decide to do that's in righteousness. I'm like, okay, you qualified that a little bit there, but it's it's easy after you've been there for a while. But getting there it's a challenge, and that's why we're doing this video to help people see that they can go develop this personal relationship with God. That's what it's all about.
Well, I think that one of the things that you have brought up before is that when you plant that seed, it's nurtured, but we have to plant the seed.
Yeah, if you don't ask, you can't get any answer. They're not obligated to help you. But as soon as you ask, they will always answer because they're completely obligated to help you.
When we look at the divine energy, for example, your grandfather,
Uh-huh.
do you frequently go to him and ask? Or does it show
No,
up?
no, I did then. One of the things that was really helpful in my path and early times of my experiences was I began to recognize the level of light that was being given to me. If somebody came that was like, let's say it's a dark spirit and they want to, they were trying to deceive you, so to speak. I mean, I get this question all the time. Well, don't you think you might have been deceived? And I said, why in the heck would you give more power to Satan that he would deceive you than you will to God that he will enlighten you? That makes absolutely no sense to me. But people go there because they have fear. As soon as you start to eliminate that fear, you start to eliminate the possibility that I'm not being deceived. I know what this is like. I know what the feeling of love is like from God. So you don't fear it anymore. You actually embrace it all the time. And you'll run into people I would run into people who I could see that light in. I could feel it coming from them. And they didn't even say anything to me. It was like, oh my gosh, this person's got some enlightenment. I need to listen to what this person has to say. And so you would, and it would be uplifting and help you to move forward. And that's what, people we're talking to need to do. Go out there and look, listen, follow the direction that you're getting because it'll take you to God. It'll take you to that peace that surpasses all understanding. That's what this is all about.
It is all about standing under our ego, standing under our fear, and recognizing that we've made them up.
Yeah.
In reality, there is only, as you say, the kingdom of God. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing for us to be aware of. How do you want to share that people can become more aware of being one within the kingdom of God?
Well, let's look at it from a little different perspective for a second. God, being perfect, can't create anything that is imperfect. Everything that God creates is perfect. So if we're seeing something that's imperfect, it's what we're seeing. It's not what God is seeing, because he's perfect. He made you perfect, made me perfect. Everybody's perfect, but we see ourselves as imperfect. And as soon as you do that, you place yourself at less than these others. Oh, they're better than I am. It's kind of like what happens with things like priesthood. As soon as somebody says, look, I've got priesthood, God gave it to me. He didn't give it to you. Because he didn't give it to you, he must not love you as much as he loves me. He loves me more than he does you. I must be better than you are. Oh my gosh. You see where that takes you? You know? And then you begin to realize that this is nothing more than the Dumbo feather that Dumbo had. When he had the feather, he could fly. But you know what? If you go through and look at the scriptures, it never says, I created the heavens by my priesthood. No, it was all done by faith. Finally, Dumbo realizes, I don't need this feather to fly. I can fly without it. Yeah, I don't need priesthood to fly. I can fly without it. It's faith that matters. It's my trust in God that matters. And as you get better and better and better at it, you know that when you lay your hands on somebody, they're going to be healed. You know, all those things that Jesus did, you begin to be able to do those things because you are becoming one with him. It's a pretty neat place to go.
Well, from my perspective, we are already one with him, just as I am one with you. However,
Right.
we block that because we're afraid that, and we believe, and we've been trained that we're not good enough.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You, by stepping forward, by planting that seed, by asking, by stepping forward and asking again, have made a difference in how you perceive this. And I think that your important message is one step at a time.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't bite off more than you can chew. And if you actually receive something from someone that's higher than what your ability to understand, it will just go over your head, and you'll need to get it another time down the road because you weren't ready for it when it came around the first time. You know, it's we were talking about this the other day about reading the course, and I started back through it again. I'm going, where was all this stuff the first time I read this? You know, it's so much different, but it's because I'm in a different place than I was when I first read it.
Well, and I think that that's what's important on our journey, whether we are talking Course in Miracles or we are talking spirituality or we're just talking about an awareness of our own consciousness. We have to be very aware that you go through the process to make the progress. And the Course is adamant about that, you know.
Right.
However, most religions say there's no process. It's this, this, and this.
Right. Well, they have to place these guidelines on you in order for them to control you. The religions out there that I wouldn't even call them a religion because most of the time they veer away from it when they get into this space. But as soon as they allow you total agency to do whatever you wish and will love you in that space, then they're actually acting in the God space. And there's not many of those around. You know, there's not many people like that who will love without any conditions, without putting any condition on that love. But there's where the peace comes because you're standing with God. You're actually in his space, or he's in yours. Or as I like to say to people, she's in your space. There's another paradigm shift. You know, we've put this God over here who's one that's all male. And the balance here is the males are trying to become or gain the understanding of the female energy, and the females are trying to gain the understanding of the male energy and blend those two together because that's what they really are. It's a blended understanding. It's a blended energy that comes from God. It's not male or female.
No, it's the loving, creative energy that we are. And, you know, it's important to recognize that we are all connected. And how do you feel as though you have learned the connection that you have with me, with your family, with the stranger walking down to the street? How do you feel as though you have learned that you really are connected with them?
Um, a lot of that is kind of a two-way street. I have to be totally accepting. If they don't accept, or if they struggle, or have a challenge with me, or whatever it might be, that's their issue. My job is to love them, even though they might be in that space, because then I'm actually connected. They just may not recognize that connection. So it's kind of a two-way thing there. I watched. I'll bet you I've watched well over 1,000 near-death experience videos on YouTube. Well over 1,000. There was 50 came out last week, new ones.
Oh.
I mean, it's unbelievable how much information is coming, and all of this information. Now, some of them vary over here. This guy will have this kind of experience. That guy will have that kind. But we're all talking about the same thing. 90% of them have, I felt this love that was just unbelievable. It consumed me. It went through every part of my being. Well, I felt that. I know what that's like. And once you've had it, you can never forget it. You won't. You long for it. That's why these people go, I don't care if I die now. I know what I'm going to, and it's going to be great. And they go down that path. And the key, though, with all of it is, can you learn to create that energy within yourself and generate it and send it forth to everyone you meet?